to the new episode of the Marketing Meeting. Today, my guest is Irit Levi. She's the founder of the business management company Day by Day. She helps businesses with process, strategy, software, and automation. Although she has tested 978, if I'm not wrong, tools, she believes she's about scalability, not the software, and she believes technology is just a tool for us. Welcome, Irit.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
Oh, yeah, me too. Well, I mean, if you're excited as a, person who knows this type of video platforms and so on, then, I feel quite important.
I think your podcast is important. It's like every marketer should be following this and every business owner.
Oh, that's so much. Thank you so much. And as I do start most of the podcasts, I have two stories about you, not one, that I would like to share. Not story, but like small anecdotes. Some people on LinkedIn call me Irit. I think especially Luke Matthews does that. Did you know that?
I did not know that, but Luke and I are friends, so that makes sense.
Yeah, because, if you, swap some of the words, not the words, but the letters, it is actually the same.
Yeah.
And then yesterday, more interestingly, Microsoft, big company, thinks the same. Yesterday, while I was writing a mail to you, Outlook corrected your name with my name. It was like I was writing Irit and it was correcting to Iter. So that's story number one.
I love it.
And the second story is while I was getting ready also again for the interview, I prepared the notes in Word. I mean, the Microsoft software Word. And I laughed because you lately said, no one uses Word anymore.
I did say that.
I feel old, to be honest.
So for the record, I do still use Word sometimes. And I know people who are very, very Microsoft oriented and will hate that I say that nobody uses Word. But I think it's phasing out.
And to be like this document, like piece of paper, which is physical, has been written in Word and is printed. And I'm looking forward to our podcast now. So shall we start?
But I just, for the record, I prepped in Google Docs and I have you in picture, and then I have the doc behind it. So I have my notes as well. They're just digital.
I'm getting in there. So to start off with, let's assume that I'm a founder of a medium-sized company. We are operating for 5 years and we've been doing marketing for 2 years. And but we have no automation at all. Would you please hold my hand as we go step by step to the life of automation?
Yes, but that's the wrong question. Meaning, you can ask it. It's a great question. No, it's a great question from you. And founders and companies come to me with that question. So that's why it's a great question. But it's the wrong question because automations are an outcome of something. They're an outcome of developing a process. I can't just say, oh, automate this. I don't know that you need this. There's an automation where you can have your Slack connected to your light, and when you go on Do Not Disturb, and that's connected to your meeting, and then when a meeting is coming up, the lights will flicker and Slack will turn to Do Not Disturb. Do you need that? I don't know if you need that. So there's so many things that you can start automation with. It really depends on what process you want to automate, what steps you're repeating, what you need to automate. And I don't know that until I know your process.
Oh, that's good. So I don't know how to, go with the flow of the rest of the questions. But let's assume, because, you can automate many parts of your business. It can be sales, it can be marketing function. And under marketing, then you can have so many other processes like email marketing, CRM, and all the lead nurturing, and so on. For a company that is completely new to automation, especially in terms of marketing, is there a place that you say that this is where you may start? At least
So the answer is it depends on what process you have most. So for example, if you have a full pipeline, if you've been in business for 4 to 5 years, I'm guessing you have a pipeline of customers coming in. Then let's see how we can automate that, because in that pipeline, there's so many steps that we can automate, right? We can automate sending proposals and sending contracts and NDAs and follow-up emails and so many things from that moment that you collect the email that the person reaches out to you until the moment you onboard them. There are so many steps that you go through that you can delegate to a tool. If you don't have a full pipeline, or if your sales, I say marketing / sales is very, very simple and short, then you may want to automate your customer journey. I usually tell smaller businesses to start with automating that, because that's going to make their life easier and help them focus more and not, give their client the best experience. But again, it depends on what process it is that you want to automate. I think the sales pipeline is the easiest thing to automate because there's so many automation potential points in that process.
So I mean, but I'm more interested on the marketing pipeline, for example, right now, which is shall we go through phase by phase for email marketing automation? Then would that be a better way of saying things?
So email marketing is very interesting. A lot of companies say, "Oh, I'll just start a newsletter." Simple, right? Email marketing. I'll start a newsletter. I'll start collecting emails, and they'll get emails in however they get it, like gated content, or I'm against it, but never mind. They can go to gated content, they can go social media, they can go on their website. There are lots of places you collect emails. And then the question is, what is the customer journey that you want to put your potential leads or clients through, right? And if it's a once a week newsletter, once a month newsletter, let's just create a template and do it. I'm not going to say the M word, use human interaction. Try to do it I can't say manual. I can't okay, I can't. I can't say it.
You said it.
Yeah, just so people know what it is, but that's it. No more.
Yeah.
So you can do a weekly or a monthly one simply by having a template. A template is a type of semi-automation, I guess, because then you're just plugging and playing in variables. But if you want to nurture your clients, or if you're doing a marketing of a product, a service, or something big, you want to have a flow. What happens if they do this? What happens if they do that? And I'm not going to foresee questions that you're probably going to ask about, but there's so many questions that you have to ask in order to put in place a sequence of marketing automation, let's call it. And then what happens if they buy? And what happens if they're just interested? And do you send a nurture email? Do you send an abandoned cart email? There's so many questions that you have to answer. The more complex your campaign, the more complex your automation is going to be.
Yeah, that's a good one. But I mean, I feel because the knee-jerk reaction when I think about email marketing is to start from the template. Although the template is just the way to convey your message, but I feel there should be one step before we do that. So I mean, we can have a template, but who are we sending this template to? So right. I think it should be of course there should be, okay, why are we having email marketing? What are we going to communicate there, and so on? Those are so many other questions that you have to get ready. But how about the email list? How can you build that? Because probably you have a sales pipeline, or you have some people that connected to you through the website. How can we start building that list if we haven't built a list yet?
So it's interesting. We all have people who are interested in what we have to offer, even if we don't recognize it. You've started your business because there are people that need whatever it is that you're selling. So the idea is to find them where they are and give them an easy option to sign up, even if you don't have an email list yet. So one example can be, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but create a Google Sheet. That's the simplest solution. Not necessarily one I recommend, but doable and free, just so people can send me your email and I'll add you to my list. Terrible process, but doable. Want to take it one step further? Have a form. You can use an Airtable form. Again, we're not going into tools yet of marketing, email marketing tools, just regular to collect the list. Have a form. It could be a Google form. It could be an Airtable form. Have them fill out the form with their email and their name and possibly a question to segment them. But again, you have to recognize the more questions you ask, the more friction points you're going to get, the less, the more potential signups you're going to lose, because people don't want friction points. They want to make it as simple as possible. But the idea is to say to people, I'm going to start a list. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry to cut your word, but for the step by step, for the forms, that form can easily be a form that you insert to your website so that when people contact you, they can fill it out, or somewhere else.
And so the form, the reason I said a form and not a website form is because that kind of form, if you're giving a lecture, even if you're giving a face-to-face lecture and you want to have people write down the emails, having a form to put it in just makes it easier for you later. And that form is automatically connected to a Google form, would be connected to a Google spreadsheet, and an Airtable form to an Airtable database table. There's no integration. It's just like a simple form. It's not being pushed anywhere. It's just you're collecting the emails for now. And when you're just starting out and you don't know what tool you want to use, you don't know what emails you want to send out, you just want to collect people who are interested, that's a great way. You're just collecting emails. It's like the Rolodex that we used to have, when my father was young. Way back when there was this Rolodex, and it would just be cards that you would pull out. So the same thing. What we need to recognize, though, is that emails have value. So if people are going to give you their email, they need to feel that, A, you're not going to abuse it, and B, that they're going to get something in return. Now, it doesn't have to be something big. You don't have to give them a lead magnet. We're not even there yet. We're not in that automated space yet. We're just talking about collecting the emails right now. But when you tell someone, give me your email, I'll add you to my list. I'm not sending anything yet, but I will. They have to really trust you and know that you're going to give them value and that you're not going to abuse their emails. And I think that level of trust you build with relationships. Like, that's how I see it. Mm-hmm. So if you go on social media and you say, sign up to my email list, here's a form. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have a website. If you do have a website, have a form at the bottom of the website. And here I wouldn't use a Google form or an Airtable form. I would use a form from the platform that your website is built on. So if it's WordPress, it would be a WordPress form or Gravity form or whatever form you're using. If you're using Webflow, have it as a Webflow form, Squarespace form, Wix form, whatever it is, wherever it is you're building your site. And then you need to decide, where am I pushing this email to? Because WordPress will collect it, Webflow will collect it, Squarespace, they'll collect it wherever it is in their backend. But then you can, using a third-party tool, push it to somewhere else. Push it to your email marketing tool, push it to your CRM. The one thing I would not recommend people doing is, if somebody reaches out to you for a sale, don't add them to your email list automatically, because you haven't gotten their permission to add them to your email list. They've signed up to have a sales call with you, or whatever it is that you're selling, like a demo. They haven't signed up for your email list automatically. And without going into GDPR and CCPA and all the security and privacy issues that we have, I just find it unethical, because I signed up to get on a demo with you. I didn't sign up to get all of your emails, unless there's a checkbox or whatever. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Before we move to the platform, email marketing platform, on the first step, you mentioned that if it's a WordPress, then you'd better collect the form in the WordPress. But I see also, for example, people using Airtable for WordPress sites.
Yeah.
Why would you recommend that? Why would you recommend WordPress for WordPress forms?
So before I say why I would recommend, let me explain why people are not using the WordPress form. The Airtable form is so much easier to integrate later down the road, specifically with WordPress. WordPress uses plugins, so they're using a specific type of form, and then they'd have to use a third-party tool to push that somewhere else. With Airtable, it's the process is a lot smoother. It's a lot easier, not even without having native integrations, which means it's built-in integrations. Airtable is just so simple to use, and embedding their form is so simple. The downside is you have less control over the design. So it looks like an Airtable form. You can recognize that it's an Airtable form. Airtable doesn't let you change the submit button color or the font. You can possibly do it with CSS if you have a good web developer. But if you have a good web developer, why would you use that? The WordPress forms, and this could be any type of WordPress form. I say WordPress form, but like I said, there's Gravity forms, there's WP forms. Like there are tons of types. They usually integrate. Some integrate really well with third parties, and they definitely sit better on the website and look better, and it gives you more design flexibility. Now, if you're doing marketing and you define the target audience of 4 to 5 years in business, you probably have a brand by now. And you want the website and the form to feel on brand. You want the customer journey to feel on brand. So while I love Airtable forms, and I have a few on my website, even though you may not notice it, like people won't see them as that because my developer was just a whiz. But like, still, so a lot of my forms are Webflow forms because it just looks and feels on brand. So people say, "Oh, Orange, day by day, Irit Levi. Yes, I know her." So, and that's what you want.
That's a very nice point, because I mean, when I never thought about that before, by the way. But and some might say, okay, it's just a form. I mean, how sophisticated does it need to be? But however, if you have like a really sleek website, it's very nice, on brand and so on. And the part that you have an interaction with the person who is in your website is the part where you are filling the form. I mean, now they are reactive to what you are doing. Other than that, they are just watching your website. And that's the only area that they are interacting with your website. And if that's not on brand, then it might trigger some questions about trust also. If it's like a very specific, like very easy looking, simple, not on brand form. Well, that's an eye opener. Thanks so much for that. Yeah.
Just for the record, if you do have to use a third-party form like Airtable or Typeform, and now there's this formless AI, which is phenomenal. Like there are tools out there that you may want to integrate onto your website. A lot of them have the ability to sort of make it look on brand. Not all of them do, a lot of them do. And B, if they don't, like Airtable, I embed the form in a page that is on brand. So the form itself is like, it's within a white box on the page, but the rest of the page is completely on brand. So again, you're still getting that feeling that you're on my website, you're on my brand. There's still trust. The messaging is always on, like the redirect, like everything. You have to think of everything when you do something like this, especially if you're not paying for Airtable, and they have an amazing free plan. If you're not paying for it, when they hit submit, it's going to show the Airtable branding, which for some businesses might be fine, but for some that might be an issue. So just something to think about.
Yeah. Okay. So how about collecting data? Because we have the first party data, which is like people who are willingly signing up on their own for our newsletters or whatever. How about what you think about third party data? Like the data that you buy from somewhere.
I have an opinion that is not the norm. I think it's becoming the norm, hopefully. I am pro ethical marketing. I have a problem with conversion copywriting. I have a problem with all the marketing that's pushing you to the sale and making you feel, fear of losing out, and collecting data that I haven't given you permission to collect. I have a real problem with it, because I was just having this conversation with my husband the other day, and he was like, I have finally gotten the algorithm to give me exactly the ads that I want, and to give me exactly the content that I want, and to give me and he was so proud of it. And I was like, do you know how much big data they have about you now? Like, I was scared for him from a cybersecurity perspective. And I think we have to recognize that Google and Amazon and Microsoft and all of these apps, they have so much information about us from Meta, from wherever, right? Like from LinkedIn. Everybody has so much information about us today. They can know everything that we like from 5 clicks. So if I'm buying something from like if somebody's selling my information, that's scary to me, because what do they know about me, and how is that information being used? And am I now being targeted with only content that the big data companies think that I need? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
How's that changing my experience? I would never buy third-party data from someone.
Mhm.
It just feels unethical to me. And it's also why I browse using like no cookies, no, like I'm very careful about where I share my information because I'm very scared of it.
Yeah. 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 That's so once we collect that data and we have finally a list, a simple list, either in Google Sheets or Airtable or Webflow in a Webflow form. What's the next step then? Is it just like preparing the template and sending it out, or?
So I'm not a marketer and I'm not an email strategist. And I can recommend, well, a marketer, I'm talking to an amazing marketer now, and an email strategist I can recommend. But from my experience, the email campaigns that you send out there has to be a purpose to it. Now, the purpose can be building your authority. The purpose can be selling something. The purpose can be building relationships. Like there could be different purposes. And based on the purpose, again, just like the process, like based on what it is you want to get, what is the ultimate outcome, like goal, KPI that you want to get, that's how you choose what kind of campaign you want to send. A best practice that I've read on multiple places is to have a welcome sequence of at least 6 emails. Is that still the best practice? I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an email strategist, but my welcome sequence has about 6 emails and it's not selling anything. There's a soft sell for someone who's like looking to set up a call, but it's not, the purpose of it isn't to sell. The purpose of it is to show appreciation. Thank you for signing up. Here's what I'm giving you in return. And then sharing case studies and stories and telling people how I help others. And, maybe they'll see themselves there, maybe they won't. But the idea is to sort of tell them about me and what they've signed up for and what we're all about. And it's asking for feedback. And I give them so this is where I get complex and have to show off because if I don't do it in my welcome sequence, who's going to do it? The second email is already asking them, choose your path. Like I'm asking them what they are interested in. This helps A, with segmentation, but B, the emails that they get following that change based on whatever it is they select. So that's the idea. It's a complex sequence. It's not a simple sequence, and it interacts with my website. Not everybody needs that. You may just need hi, I do marketing, this is what you can expect from my emails. And then email number 2 is saying, here's the story of how I helped a client. And then email number 3 is, here's how I can help you. That could be, a sequence. It could be as simple as that.
Yeah, I think in like I helped in the past a lot of e-commerce brands, and it's just like every e-commerce brand, every marketing would know that every e-commerce brand has a list of scenario emails, which is like a person who signed up. And then a second scenario is like, okay, what if they have something left in their shopping cart? I mean, it's not only a marketer thing right now. Every one of us is exposed to that. So we know that what's going to come next. And then if you don't show up, then probably they're gonna come with like a discount or so on and so on, and then from there it goes. The relationship continues. What do you think about the email marketing? But I'm gonna close the loop on the email marketing, and we move on to another topic. But what do you think about the email marketing platforms usually? Because once we have the list and once we decide the scenarios and what type of an email that we want to share, then you have to interact with the email marketing platform, which is,
right.
I would like to get your thoughts on.
So if you would have asked me up until 2 months ago, hands down, my favorite email marketing platform would have been ActiveCampaign. Hands down, by far, bar none. E-commerce, maybe Klaviyo, but for everything else, ActiveCampaign. I use my email marketing tool for my courses, for my communities. Like I use it for so many other things other than just email marketing. I use it to interact. Some people use it as a CRM. I don't, but that's like these tools have now become that. So I love ActiveCampaign. 2 months ago, I put in a very complex sequence and it didn't keep up. It totally screwed my launch, but it's not their fault 100%. So now I'm like, I don't know, but I would stay away from the free tools, the ones that have really great, seemingly great free tiers, MailChimp, MailerLite, System.io, it's like, oh, you get 2,000 contacts for free. Even HubSpot, you get 2,000 contacts for free, right? And you use those 2,000 contacts, but they're giving you very simplistic, if any, workflows and automations. Like you can maybe send 2 emails one after the other. Usually it's just one-off emails. So you can't do any advanced sequencing for sure. And then when you upgrade, what you're getting for your money is a lot less than you would be getting in ActiveCampaign. I researched, I think 6 or 8 or maybe 10, I don't remember, this is a while ago, tools, like different email tools. And I put in a scenario. I was like, okay, I want to create a sign up page where people can sign up, a form that they fill out, they get an email, and then something else happens. I don't remember what it was. And with all of these tools, like I tried GetResponse and I tried ConvertKit, and with all of these tools, by far, ActiveCampaign gave me the easiest sequencing, the easiest email builder, and the easiest way to see where a given contact was at any stage of any sequence. And people don't recognize the value of that. So we get hyped by, I get 2,000 free contacts. Yeah, but what else do you get? And then how soon? You're going to probably have to upgrade when you have like 200. And then what? It's going to cost you a lot, and you're not going to really get what you really want unless you get a really high up tier. So we have to think ahead when we choose the right tool.
But you mentioned that it's not your favorite tool anymore in email marketing.
So I'm having a fallout with it at the moment. I haven't found a replacement. I don't know that I will replace it because it does serve me for so much, and I really love what it does. But I have been having a fallout with it in the past 2 months. Yeah. And there are new tools out there, but they can't keep up right now.
So I have 2 follow-up questions on this topic, because you touched base a very important topic about free subscriptions on these softwares, which a lot of softwares offer quite nice free subscriptions. For example, I'm also having a dilemma with Spotify Podcaster. So I don't pay it. It's cheap. It's free of charge to host my podcast. And I have doubts about it because it makes me uncomfortable to be on a free list. Is it like, since you are working with so many softwares, is it like the way, I mean, if you have a proper business, is it the way to have a subscribed plan with rather than a free plan? If you are using, like, let's say for your business, you are using 10 tools, then what would be the approach? Is there anything, a general approach, let's say?
My general approach, if you can use a freemium as in there's a free tool, a free tier, and then like a paid tier. If you can use freemium, use it as much as you can until the point that it's hindering your business. So if we take a tool like MailChimp, for example, on the free tier, every email on the bottom is going to have the MailChimp logo. And you can choose if it's black or if it's white or whatever, but every email is going to have that. For me, when I see an email from a business that I consider serious and I see that logo on the bottom and I realize that they're using the free version of MailChimp, that's harming the business. That's like using a Gmail address as opposed to a professional address, like in your email. So if you're using a freemium tool and people don't know it, like if I'm using Airtable on the freemium plan and nobody knows it, then great. But if I'm putting a form up and at the end I have the Airtable branding and that's hurting my branding, maybe I need to upgrade. Use freemium as much as you can. Listen, we spend so much money on tools. If you're spending $10 here and $20 there and $30 there, and it adds up, and at the end of the month you're like, oh, I spent $350 on tools. Where did that go? And $350 seems like nothing, but depending on how many team members you have, it could get up also to $3,000, right? Like every tool you pay per seat, you pay per license. Use free tools when you can. But when you're choosing the tool, if you decide to go with the free tool, don't just look at what you're getting at the free tier. Look at how much it's going to cost you to upgrade per seat and for modular tools per module. I could go in, I could explain this more. For example, ClickUp, which is far from my favorite tool, gives you custom fields, but you're very limited. And all of a sudden, after you, I think it's like 1,000 custom fields, but it's not really, it's 1,000 custom fields or something like this. This is the last time I tested, which was years ago. But like very soon after you have like 100 records, all of a sudden you have to upgrade. You're like, but I'm not ready to upgrade yet, right? And so, whereas with Airtable, you get unlimited custom fields because it's like a spreadsheet, right? So if I can use that, I'll use that. When you look at a tool that you're going to use, look at the pricing, but look at the features list and see, everyone has those tables and they have a checkbox, what you get and what you don't get. That's my first stop for any software that I look at, because I want to see what is the difference between the paid tier and the free tier. What am I not getting on the free tier? And then if I say, okay, I'm going to need that for, very soon. Okay, what's the cost? And is it per seat? And can I have like one person on a free tier and one person on a paid tier? I don't know, like different combinations. Because if I have a team of 5 and I'm paying $20 per seat, well, there's $100 before you've even blinked per month. Yeah. So you have to think ahead.
So, I have one question, because so we decided as a business owner, I decided which parts of my business I'm going to automate. And the next sections and the things that I would need. And the next step would be, okay, which software to use and choose from. And should I be looking at doing a search and finding the top 5 and doing analysis in between them and then talking to the customer representatives also of those apps, or how can I select it?
I love that question. So there are a few stages in the software selection, and it can be overwhelming. So you have to know what you're going through. The first thing is to look at the 3 Ps. So the purpose of the software, what do you want the software to do? The second P is the process. What are the different steps that this tool is going to go through? So the first question is asking about that end goal. Where do we want to go with the tool? What is it supposed to ultimately help us achieve? And the second is, what are the steps that it's going to go through to achieve it? So that's process. And the third P, which I think is the most important P, is people. Who are the people that are going to be using it? Because if it's just you, then it's your personal preference. But if it's a big team, that can affect, what tool you choose, again, like pricing and other things. So that's stage number 1. Stage number 2 is looking at industry specific needs. If you're in healthcare in the United States, all your tools need to be HIPAA compliant. If you're like a law firm, you may have other industry standards or construction, like there may be industry standards. So that's going to limit the tools that you can use. Budget constraints, which we talked about, how much is it going to cost me? How much is it going to cost me per user, as a company in general, per month, per year? And team preferences. So if we talked about people, if your team likes colorful things and they like things popping out and jumping at them, Monday may be a great project management tool because it's very colorful. If your team hates that, they need monochromatic, they just want the very gray scale, they want it looking like Excel, that's not going to be a good tool for them. And like we said before, future growth plans. Where are you going with this? How far is, if you know that you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of sales, like leads in your pipeline, you need a strong tool. So maybe then HubSpot or Salesforce is the right tool for you. But if you know that you're going to grow, but you're not going to grow beyond, maybe 100 or 200 per year, then you can stay with smaller CRM, just as an example, right? So what are your future growth plans? That's the last thing. Oh, wait, I didn't answer your question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I thought that you were over.
Yeah. No, I thought so too. But then I was like, but I don't think I answered the question, because you mentioned, do we test them out? So once you select that tool, have a scenario in your mind. Like I said, with the email tools that I tested, this is a scenario that my business goes through. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Choose the top 3 leading that you like, that your team likes, that answer all the questions that we mentioned, and implement that scenario, the same scenario in all 3 tools, and see which one is easiest to implement, easiest to use, easiest that your team likes. If you need, get on a call with a demo with the company after you've tried it, because then you have questions and then you see what's their support like. Are they attuned to your questions? Are there things that they're missing that you simply don't know about? Or are there things that they can teach you, or things that you're missing, but yeah, we're not going there. We're not going to be developing that. So, again, how attuned are they? I've been on calls with companies that are like, oh, that's a great idea. And then two weeks later, I got an email saying, oh, our development team is implementing it. I want to work with companies like that they're listening to their customers.
But I mean, like, I'm just, even for my business, I'm just thinking, like, because a tool can be like $20 a month. And for me, it's okay as a business owner, $20 per month for a very important tool is not too much. But then, when you go into a business level, it's just that there are so many criteria that you need to understand about a tool. And then rather than me trying to learn every single detail of this tool and pushing it to my team, then shall I just give the email marketing automation to an agency rather than doing it on my own as an internal?
Right.
I know that there's no one right answer for every business. But I mean, like, I can select that route also, so that the email marketing company uses whatever software they want to use then, which sounds a little bit interesting and easy for me also.
Easy but dangerous. Easy, specifically in email marketing, it's easy but dangerous. I am pro delegating to people and to tools as much as we can. I am pro getting everything that you can off of your plate, off of your shoulders, and onto somebody else who's a pro, and that is their zone of genius, so that you can focus on your zone of genius. I think that that's the right way to go for any company. Having said that, I also think that you need to be the owner of your tools, of your lists, of your processes, of your automations. So handing it over to an agency, it depends on the agency and it depends on how you work with them. I do tool implementation for a living. I mean, I do process definition and then tools. So yes, hire someone like me, not me. If I hire someone else, I can recommend 10 people just now without blinking an eye that do what I do, that are amazing at what they do. And they may be a good fit for anyone. But the one thing that I would mention when you're looking to hire, just like with a tool, when you're hiring a person, be sure that it's the right fit. Be sure that they're using the tool that's right for you and your business, and not that's easy for them and their business. If you hire someone to do your project management and they love ClickUp, they're only using ClickUp, great, but that doesn't mean it's right for you. That's easy for them. If you hire an email marketing tool and they love, I don't know, get response, just to whatever. They love that tool. Why? Because they've implemented for 1 million people, or ConvertKit. They've implemented it for 1 million people. That doesn't mean it's the right tool for you. And the problem with going with a tool that's right for them is, even if they're there to hold your hand while implementing, as you grow, who says that you're going to want to continue working with them? So you're tying your future to them or to the tool. And it's not based on your needs, it's based on theirs. So yes, hire out. Yes, delegate. Yes, find someone, find an agency, find whatever that can manage it for you. But make sure that it's using the tools that are right for your business. And if I may, I have a very short story about this. I had a client who was looking to delegate her marketing to an agency. And she found someone, she was in the healthcare industry for a specific segment, and she found someone that focuses on marketing in that specific segment, and it was perfect, seemingly. They started to create content the minute she signed with them and gave them the first deposit, without even meeting with her and asking her what her goals were, what she wanted to get out of the marketing. Like, it was like a 3-month trial. By the time we got around to making that first meeting, like getting on that first onboarding meeting, they had created tons of content that was not on brand or not on focus for what she wanted them for. The presentation was very, very generic. It wasn't specific for her. And their email marketing was done through their tool only. Now, she had a huge list, an active campaign, by the way, which was serving her great. So now they wanted everybody to be moved to theirs and all new contacts to be pushed to theirs. But then what happens if she decides that they're not right for her? Now what happens to her contacts? And we don't know, the data, the statistics. We didn't know anything. After 3 months, we realized, well, sooner, but like after 3 months, it wasn't right. And she stopped. And so when we went through it, part of the reason I was involved was because I made that connection between her tool and their tool, because they insisted only on that tool. So we wanted the data to be synced so that she doesn't lose it if she decides not to work with them, which she ended up not doing.
I mean, like, as a marketer for long years, and I also worked with, big brands like Nike, but also smaller brands. Even if you outsource something to an agency, make sure that you own the platform and you own the rights to the accounts. Like, you are the account manager and owner of the social media. I once had an issue with, we were managing the social media of a client, and we were taking over the thing, and they ended up with working with another social media agency long before, and they stopped doing social media, and then we couldn't access the company, and it was like a medium-sized company. We couldn't access the company accounts on Instagram. It was, and we didn't know what to do. And then the founder was like, maybe it's the ex-marketing manager that we hired has the data, and we don't know. It was a very long process, and we spent, I think, 3 months to get their accounts back from the platforms, which is like, we couldn't, even though we have a contract in place, we couldn't start. And I said, I mean, you have to be to the founder, you have to be the owner of this, not even the marketing manager, because at the end of the day, the marketing manager can leave one day and then get all the data with them. That's the same I would. Another question would be about the tools. Is that most marketing automation tools, or most business automation tools, they offer a wide range of automation features, which is like, okay, we think that MailChimp is a email marketing platform now, but they are also offering like landing page, they're offering CRM and so on. I feel like it should be the best if you can get like more features out of the same platform. It sounds to me the right solution. What's your take here?
Yeah, so no. The one word answer is no. But the longer version of the answer is, a tool is great when you focus like on its zone of genius. So we were talking about people and how people focus on their zone of genius. If I need to go to a doctor because I have a cough, then I'll go to my generalist doctor and, my family doctor, and they'll look at me, they'll listen to my heart, listen to my ears, look at my throat, fine. But if I have something that's persistent, they're going to send me to a specialist. Same thing with tools. If you go to an all-in-one tool, or you use the expanded features in a tool, as long as it's serving you at that level, it could be fine. But it's never going to get to the same level as a specialized tool. So you said landing pages. 4 years ago, I was using Unbounce. I'm not up to date or up to speed on what the best landing pages tools are today, because I haven't researched it in a while. But at the time, Unbounce was phenomenal. It was giving us specifications and targeting and swapping out images. And now again, today that's nothing. But at the time, that was relatively new. Using something like that versus using a landing page on MailChimp, you're not going to get the same success rate, and not going to get the same ease of building the tool and complexity of segmenting visitors and doing all these things. An all-in-one tool is never going to be as good as a specialized tool, because they're always going to be catching up, because they have the entire tool to look at, not just one specific section. Whereas a specified tool is like, that's the ear, nose, throat doctor, and they're specializing in just that. So they know a lot more about ear, nose, throat than my generalist doctor.
How about like big platforms like HubSpot? Because they are big, they have the power to make the best landing page or whatever. So, I mean, I feel inclined, because you go to a big hospital where they have all the specialists in place, and you can just leave you leave them on their hands.
Right. I love that you took the analogy like that. So HubSpot is a monster, and it's great for big companies that have a lot of money to spend and want everybody in one tool, because it makes their lives easier because of integrations and like there's so many people that you don't want things going awry. But it is very expensive. It is built on modularity. I just spoke with someone this morning who they are a HubSpot partner. So they get, for the first year, they get their clients 90% discount which is phenomenal because, like I said, HubSpot is very expensive. But then what happens in year 2? So if you're using HubSpot, absolutely, it could be the right tool for you. Just, again, it's ROI, right? So it's my return on investment. If I'm investing time in implementing it, and it takes time to implement it, and they have the power, yes, it could be the right tool for you. I'm not saying it's not, but again, you need to be a very big company in my mind to justify it. And just for the record, I have to have this on record. Every time I get an email from HubSpot marketing, I have to re-enter my email to download another booklet. So something in their tool isn't working properly, because my tool gives the option that if you've clicked from within my email, it already knows that I've downloaded it without me having to input my email again. So just saying, HubSpot may have that capability, but they're not using it in their own email marketing. So just something to think about.
Yeah, it's just like, most of the time, it's the doctor analogy is very on, I think, like, because most of the time when you go to a big hospital with the big name and a lot of really good doctors, you get a service. But if you have a persistent problem and if you really want like some really close help, it's usually the doctors that are not working a part of the hospital.
That, but also, yeah,
and sophisticated level help.
Right. No, and also, I'll call it the bureaucracy of it, because the tools have that bureaucracy as well. The smaller you are in the hospital, like the smaller your problem, the less chance you're going to get to those high level doctors, right? So if you're a small fish in a big tool, you're not going to need most of what's there. So why go to that big hospital and pay the big bucks when you can find a specialist outside of the hospital? Like, again, it's an ROI thing. Yeah. I can justify HubSpot for big companies. For smaller ones, I find it very hard to justify their structure and their pricing model and everything about it.
So one almost last question about the tools. You tested 978 tools. Has that number changed?
Oh, it changes constantly. I just got certified on a new tool last week. That number is, I think, old, but it's like,
so 979 then.
Check.
Yeah. Can you share which of them have consistently stood out for you for effectiveness and for ease of use in automation? Like top of mind. 3.
Top of mind. First of all, Zapier, because that's my automation tool of choice. So Zapier is a third-party automation tool, which basically means it translates one tool to another tool, and it does the automation. It connects them. Most tools today don't have built-in native integrations, so which are better, but you need a third-party tool. So Zapier is number one if you're looking for automations. I like it better than Make, and they just changed their pricing model a few months ago, and so it's more affordable for everyone, and I'm really happy with them. So that's number one on my list, and I think it's easier to use and to learn than Make. Number two, that constantly comes up, and we've mentioned it in this podcast as well, is Airtable. It is not for big companies looking to do complex things necessarily, but it can do complex things, and it is a great, I'll call it a helper tool. If you could use it in between to do a lot of data manipulation. It is a great data management tool. You can use it as a CRM for smaller companies. You can use it as a project management for smaller companies. It requires more setup, but it's amazing, and their free tier is just phenomenal, and they constantly improve their interfaces, so you can do a lot with it. It gets expensive after 5 users, so you need like another layer on top of it, but not going into that. The third tool may surprise you. It's actually the Google Suite. I am lost without my Google Calendar. I live in my Google Calendar. My scheduling goes into my Google Calendar. Like people that fill out forms, go into my email, Gmail, Google Calendar, my Google Docs, the Google Drive, like the entire Google environment. I know it's a big fish, and it's not like maybe not politically correct or trendy to like one of those big corporations. I think they're doing an amazing job. Their freemium software truly does help small to medium-sized businesses Big businesses can, if they have the enterprise level and the workspace and a lot of stuff that can go even further, it integrates so well with other tools. It plays so nicely with everyone else. And for me, playing nicely with other tools is what it's all about.
Perfect. And then the second question is that with your extensive background in software, automation, and tools, which tools do you use the most? And how many tools do you have for your own business?
So I can't answer how many I have because I have accounts in multiple tools all the time. My business used to run on Asana. I've moved it over to Airtable because I didn't need what Asana had for the size of my business. I love Asana. I love it as project management tool, but I use Airtable. I use Zapier. Like I said, I use Google. I use OneHub for my scheduling. I think it is one of the best and most flexible and best investment for your money for scheduling. It is a phenomenal tool. I'm trying to think. I use only cloud-based tools. So, so I use cloud-based tools because I could give me a new laptop, I can start working right away. And one tool that every business should have is a password vault. You were talking about ownership before. If you have a password vault, the password vault is the owner. You're using the owner's email so that they can, if they locked out or whatever, but the password vault has control. The company owns the password vault. You have access as, the agency or whatever, but those are the tools that I think everyone should be using. I can't say the right tool for invoicing or payment processing because it depends on so many other factors. But that's it. You can run a business on these 3 or 4 tools.
How about video clipping and video editing?
So I outsource that. I have someone who interviews me and records me on Riverside. That's her tool of choice, not mine, which is a great tool. And then we we delegate it to a person to do editing. And he's great as well. He was my video editor as well. And so for me, that's great. I use Vidyard just because they gave on the free plan at the time, it was 30 minutes rather than the 7 minutes in Loom. But they're both great. They're both good tools. They integrate with, LinkedIn and or Gmail and or whatever other tools that you're using. So it has benefits. I am pro video in any way, shape, or form. I do a lot of my client interactions with video. My email strategist sends me the monthly email sequence with a document and a video. So that, video is a great tool instead of meetings today. Definitely people should be using it more.
Perfect. And I'm hoping that one of our friends will help me out on video as well, because this is an area that I haven't touched, and I'm looking forward to go into that soon. Last 2 questions, more like lifestyle questions that I ask to every guest of mine. What is one book that you would recommend to the listeners?
So I worked in a bookstore for 15 years. I managed a bookstore.
Okay.
There's no one book. I don't read business books at the moment usually because I don't have time for secular reading. And then on the weekends, I read Jewish history and stories. I am currently reading, however, a book by Rabbi Jonathan Sacks called The Home We Build Together, Recreating Society. And that's where my head is at. Building a respectful society where people can argue and disagree with respect and still love each other and not lead to hatred. And I live in a war zone right now. So for me, it's all about conversations. And one of my closest friends in business is someone who theoretically on paper, we should not be friends. And we are, because the values that we share are more important than the values that we disagree on. And so talking about how to build a society that respects each other, for me, that's where it's at.
Thank you for sharing that small story. It touches my heart, I can tell you. And, another very quick story about bookstores is that when I was living in Nike, I had all of these things. For a year, I contemplated on that and I thought, what would I do? And so on. And then nothing was coming out of that because I was so used to working in a corporate environment. And I kept on saying to myself, I love reading books. And if I cannot find one single thing to do after I leave Nike, I'm just going to go and work at a library or a bookstore. I mean, how complicated can it be? I mean, like, I just can sit there and guide people.
It's brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah. And do you have, I know it's like on the non-wars times, let's say, what's your favorite coffee place to go? Is there any place that you go for coffee or tea that you love to go in your city?
So it's not a place because the place is at home, but my favorite coffee is the ones that my son makes for me. My son has been making me coffee. He's 10. He's been making me coffee since he was 6 or 7. And he makes the best coffee. It's coffee and sandwiches. Those are the two things that he just makes. He puts so much love and effort into his coffee. And seriously, it just tastes completely different. It could be warm coffee or iced coffee. He knows how to make it, and just so much love is in there. And it's just the best coffee in the world.
Oh, that's amazing. And yeah, I used to come to Israel so many times when I was around like 20, 25. And I remember drinking a lot of iced coffee because it was so hot most of the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe, hopefully one day in the future we meet and then your son would do a very nice coffee.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Irit, for joining me at this podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let me stop the recording. Who's you're doing